Let us listen to Gathoni Wamuchomba exposing how President William Ruto lost the mountain.
Yeah. What was that moment that made you say, I think I need to go in a different direction?
It's the moment that President William Ruto called his party MPs, and I was one of them. And in that meeting, he indicated that he's willing to tax producers, farmers. Mm-hmm. And he also indicated that every other single income that farmer will have to be taxed. And that's the moment I realized that the president was not honest when he said pesa mfukoni during his campaign.
Did you tell him?
Yes, I did. Meeting? Yes, I did.
What was the response?
Well, you can't tell him. You can't tell him.
You stood up and you gave your views at that meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I said I'm opposed to that.
What was the response?
And I've been opposed to that because you can't tax me for selling 5 kilos of avocado, take 5% of my income from that avocado, and then you want me to go in Huduma Center and also file my income tax, my total net income tax, after you have already taken my 5% from my avocado, from my coffee, from my macadamia, and then you also want me to pay you again. And he said, we are struggling with the burden of debt and we must collect as much. I felt like he was very insensitive and very insincere, because he promised he's going to provide GML, guaranteed minimum return, to those same farmers. Instead of first of all coming and asking, Gathoni, what do you think we can do so that we can up the incomes of those farmers? Once we achieve the incomes, then we can sit back and say, these guys have money, how much can we take? But you don't start from the other side. The next thing that really made me feel that President Ruto's regime, led by him, was not honest is when he supplied us with subsidized fertilizer that was adulterated. And he went on camera, on TV, and denied. Not once, not twice. As a president, we struggled to fight with the then minister, the cabinet secretary, the former CS Agriculture, Linturi. And he campaigned against that. He was actually telling members, don't impeach him. You are the president. We are complaining as your subjects. You promised us subsidized fertilizer. We are telling you we are the buyers of the fertilizer. We are implementing. We are the one who are discovering that it has some impurities. And then you are denying on camera, and you're the president. I felt like he was not honest, and he is not honest. He should have owned up to the problem and said, I agree.
Did the people of
My farmers from Trans Nzoia cannot be crazy. My farmers from Kericho cannot be crazy. My farmers from the mountain cannot be crazy. Mount Elgon cannot be crazy. I want to allow you to ask you to allow me to do my part and get to know the bottom of the problem. But you don't go on TV as a president and start saying, no, that is a propaganda. How can it be a propaganda when my mother has 5 bags in her stores? Personally, I bought 44 bags. And those bags were adulterated. Nilimwaga fertilizer kwa kahawa, mawe inabaki juu, I collected those stones. So I felt like, is this the same William that I campaigned for? Is this the deal that I bargained?
Let me ask the why. When you were aligning with Kenya Kwanza, because he was in power for the last 10 years, he was a deputy president for much of that before 2022. Why then align with him after seeing the work of the administration of that time?
Well, your judgment may be different from my judgment. What you accuse him for, if I have no evidence, then I cannot go with the wave just because people are accusing him. For me, my very, very point of contact was when I campaigned with him 2022. And I believed him. I knew he was a man of God. I believed he was a committed person, and he was passionate about farming. By the way, that's what made me feel like he's the right person, because he kept on talking about how we are going to work with the 1 million acres of land in Galana Kulalu, which he no longer talks about. I loved him when he came and told us that we are going to get guaranteed minimum return. Something that we have always been looking for as farmers, in milk, in coffee, in tea, and macadamia, avocado. And I'm surprised that the guy that I voted for and I campaigned for in very viciously, turned out to be somebody who is not telling us consistently the facts that we want. He promises things that he doesn't deliver. A lot. And I'm here to say it is true that William Ruto has betrayed even the Christian community, because he does not stand for the values that he portrays, that convinced us that he carried. You know, I'm a member of parliament for Githunguri. I've hosted President Ruto thrice in my constituency. As a president, I've hosted him twice. Those 2 times when he came as a president, he pledged projects. In fact, some of them, he gave himself 100 days.
What sort of projects?
He came to Githunguri and promised that he's going to deliver milk coolers for fresher dairy farmers who really urgently requires those coolers so that they can improve on their value chain productivity. And he promised those coolers when he came to Roiro and mentioned Githunguri amongst the other constituencies. He mentioned Gatundu North, Gatundu South, Limuru, and Githunguri because we are milk producers. He never delivered. And then he came to Githunguri personally, in person. And he came because, of course, you know, I had voted out the Finance Bill 2023. So he was not in a very good mood. And he came on podium and said, I am going to deliver the milk coolers. In fact, we had asked for 5. He said he's not going to give you 5. I'll give you 30. Those 30, since 2023, they've never...
Were they in the budget?
Yes, they were in the budget.
Which budget? 2023 budget?
2020. You know the story about those coolers, by the way, I think those coolers were budgeted even during Uhuru Kenyatta's regime.
So
Because
every,
the story
every
is...
year there's a budget and there's a budget
every
item.
year, every year the coolers are there. It's called agricultural revitalization program. So they are under the agricultural revitalization program. And I don't know whether you know that the story has been those coolers are in Mombasa.
At the port?
At the port.
Awaiting clearance?
Yes, since 2022, September.
Has Parliament verified this?
I'm not so sure because I've never asked a question in Parliament regarding that. I've never asked whether they're still at the ports. I've never asked because once the president says we are going to deliver in 2 months, I believed he has the mechanism of removing them from the port where they are stuck down to Githunguri.
Especially if the budget
He
has been
stood
allocated.
in Githunguri twice. Githunguri town, we have a very serious mess of the stalled Kwamaiko, Magomano, Githunguri Uplands Road. It is popularly known as Roiro Uplands Road. That road, by the way, has stalled for 9 years.
Since Uhuru days.
The Chinese contractor, whenever the president is coming to my constituency, 2 weeks before he comes, they bring back their equipment, machinery. And they roar. Then when the president goes, the same day the president departs, the contractor leaves.
They follow him.